yes, it is a good day for the funnies people, and yes, I'm still drinking. Now, I haven't watched South Park in very, very long time. In fact, the last time I think I watched the show with any kind of regularity, I think I was still in school, it was about 20 years ago. Man, the show's been on the air for a long time. It's like Simpsons territory now. But anyway, as it turns out, the US is not the only one that can take aim at a Kennedy. Apparently, the creators of South Park can do so as well with their latest special episode called The Pandiverse. Now, as the name implies, it is all about mocking the current pathetic panderings of the totally not fronting as a political propaganda organ that is Disney, and placing the blame primarily on a one Kathleen Kennedy, who of course ruined Star Wars with this eye-watering amount of cringe. You know what this reminds me of? This clip from that 70s show.
The three true branches of the government are military, corporate, and Hollywood.
Yeah, it's supposed to be set in the 70s. That's more relevant now than it was back then. Because of course we must have every bloody actor whose entire gig is to be somebody else for a living, pretend to be smart for once, and talk about issues of which they know fuck all about. I know you Hollywood types like to think you're terribly important because people know who you are and all of that, but we like you for your work. When you're acting, from a competent script and good directing. Not by wanking off the spastics on Twitter on behalf of the US State Department. I'm looking at you, Sean Penn, you git. And one of the people that took delight in this schadenfreude of an episode was, of course, one of the goddesses of sensible sex appeal, that is Gina Corano, who was fired by Lucasfilm when she was on The Mandalorian, saying the following on the Twitter. This is the part where KK demands any YouTubers get censored off of YouTube for sharing and laughing at this hilarious episode. She'll have YouTube disable the thumbs down option because of the ratio she'll receive. And then she'll have her publicist ghouls make sure Variety and Hollywood Reporter run hit pieces about the South Park creators and their families, smearing their names through every useful idiot she has under her thumb who would sell their soul to work for Lucasfilm. She'll activate her online mob to repeat that the South Park creators are racist, bigot, transphobes, and demand that South Park creators publicly apologize by only using words she approves of. And finally, she'll demand they subject themselves to a re-education course of 45 people in the Rainbow Hippie Community Zoom call to sit there and listen of how badly they got their feelings hurt all over a little boop of a South Park episode. But maybe, just maybe, the jig is up. Oof! Props to you, Mrs. Corano. You have huge cojones. And we all appreciate a huge set of cojones around here. Especially since most people nowadays don't seem to freaking have any. The episode itself was, actually pretty good, touching on things like multiverse theory as overused bollocks trying to resuscitate the corpse of a dead franchise. AI is going to make everyone else that doesn't have any practical skills redundant, so all of the white-collar college types are now skint. Meanwhile, the blue-collar workers are loaded because they actually do have skills, and college is a massive waste of time that will get you into endless debt with a useless degree. Prescient that one. But of course, the main one is Cartman having nightmares about everyone around him being systematically replaced by people who are diverse at the hands of Kathleen Kennedy, and he gets suckered into another dimension where he trades places with a Cartman of a diverse plane. Multiverse Theory takes place, and the original cast get kind of bent out of shape and take issue with Cartman being replaced with a black woman. Meanwhile, in their universe, Cartman is drowning in anti-patriarchy woke bollocks, being surrounded by nothing but women, and looks like he's praying for the sweet release of death. What is quite odd, though, is all of the students in the woke universe are all adults, and there aren't any children. I wonder what Trey could possibly inferring with this statement, but anyway, moving on. It is an excellent piece of satire well worth checking out, and be aware that I'm about to throw a spoiler here, but there is one part of the episode that I couldn't help but notice. In the beginning of the episode, we have Cartman having a nightmare, dreaming of himself getting replaced as a black woman, apparently trying to stay home and play Baldur's Gate 3 all damn day. And later in the episode, he actually gets swapped with this version of him through a portal from another dimension. The female black Cartman appears to imply that she can get back to her dimension, but they need some high-tech computer equipment, and Carl can use his mother's credit card to buy it, seeing as Cartman knows Carl's mother's credit card number off by heart for some reason. When she ends up getting all the equipment and powering it, all Black Cartman really wanted to do was buy a rig on which to play Baldur's Gate 3 on. And when Carl's mother confronts them on why there is a huge charge on her credit card, Black Cartman just explains she's the victim of a credit card fraud, and she needs to upgrade her internet speed to make sure she's protected. Which makes no freaking sense, seeing as she already got robbed, and she's in the room with the boys and a hell of a lot of new equipment that completely escapes her for some reason. When Carl explains to her they're now in a multiverse, this is Cartman, she just says, "Oh, that's great, the change is wonderful," and then goes off to upgrade the internet, much to Carl's annoyance. And myself, being a political person, and I'm seeing this crap all damn day, I'm thinking, holy sweet Moses, the overweight red-headed female small hat just enabled deceiving diversity. The number of intersectional subtleties in just this scene is sublime. It's the most underrated moment of the whole episode to me. But having said all that, I was watching Critical Drinker's take on this. In fact, let's take a look at what he says.
Like I say, it's a classic example of South Park's ability to present both sides of an argument fairly, make fun of the most extreme and ridiculous elements, and suggest that maybe, just maybe, there's a sensible middle ground to be found. Screaming woke at everything with even a hint of diversity or progressive ideas is just as dumb and unproductive as trying to race and gender swap every single character in sight. What's interesting though is the reaction to what was actually a pretty fair and balanced episode, with both sides of the culture war instantly claiming it as their own. People on the right are like, yeah, we totally owned those woke libtards with this one. While people on the left seem to think, this whole thing was basically making fun of those right-wing chuds and they were just too stupid to see it. Honestly though, I see this as more of a victory for common sense and moderation than for any particular side. It's a win for the silent majority of normal people caught up in the middle who are tired of this endless culture war bullshit and just want some decent entertainment. Those are the people this episode is really meant to appeal to, and in that respect, it works perfectly.
Now, I'm curious as to where he found both sides of the culture war seeing this as a win for their side, because I'm gonna be honest, I do not see how the left could possibly scrape a win out of this episode at all. And so I'm going to do something potentially sacrilege here, because I imagine there's quite a bit of overlap between his audience and mine, and myself being a fan. But I have to strongly disagree with Drinker here. Specifically, the bit about screaming woke at everything that is even the slightest hint of diversity is just as bad and unproductive as race and gender swapping every character. Not even close, mate. Only one of those results in the loss of billions of dollars, irate fans, and the destruction of a corporate conglomerate. I'm assuming he's referring to the bit in the episode where Kathleen and Cartman are in this cafe. And whilst Cartman admits that he can understand she was just trying to make a difference, she did end up ultimately making a crappy product, and the barrage of hate mail that she received made her unable to think straight, which caused her to just keep trying to make a difference, battling the supposed hate mail. When she learns, however, that Cartman was the one who sent her almost all of the hate mail, she lashes out, saying that he's the reason for all of her problems, and he retorts saying he only wrote all of that because she kept producing the garbage. Cartman then apologizes, saying that he went overboard with the hate mail, and so we understand that she had no choice but to keep doubling down. And she admits she was reckless with the products that he likes, and this was lazy. And Cartman says that just dwelling on the woke stuff is pretty lazy too, and ultimately they both created each other. What a nice neutral conclusion, right? Wrong. Why? Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Which means someone had to initiate the reaction that sparked the reaction. And that action came from fucking Disney. They were the ones who started trying to make a difference, a la produce BS propaganda that sparked the backlash. They stopped producing products for the consumer and instead made propaganda aimed at them. They were the ones who caused the reaction, and so the onus was on them to stop and listen to the fans. But they kept on giving them the middle finger, and they kept on doubling down. And kept trying to infect more and more with the plague of diversity, which would ultimately continue to irritate the public and heighten their senses. And so you end up with the ass situation with the pronouns, being so fed up with all things political that even a whiff of the stench would initiate a verbal barbarian's barrage. What's more is how this repeated pattern formulates expectations after years of abuse. If you shove diversity, gay, and your contorted view of feminism into everything, and it always results in an inferior product, guess what reaction you're gonna get? The impression that homogeneity, straight and masculine, is the superior product, because it is. And so the audience will come to associate these traits as symbols of purity, free from your pathetic political corruption, and I'm 100% here for that, because ultimately that is what the majority really wants. Apparently the phrase "the customer is always right" seems to no longer apply when you can simply chastise the consumer with the kind of labels I would give an impotent college professor a raging cockeyed semi. Hell, even at the end of the episode, you get the impression that Trey and Matt realize that Disney will learn bugger all from this fiasco, seeing as Kathleen's return and suggestion to the board at Disney that they will no longer pander but instead create original content is met with a sarcastic Bob Iger going, "Sure we will, Kate, sure we will." Wonder where they could possibly get that idea from. Oh yeah, probably that. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.